From Plesiosaurus to Ichthyosaurus, we've covered a lot of marine reptiles from the Mesozoic era, but today I want to discuss one of my favorite groups of marine reptiles. The Mosasaurus was a carnivore. It lived in the Cretaceous period. It inhabited Europe and North America. Its fossils have been found in places such as St. Loire Valley in France, South Dakota and Nebraska. The Mosasaurus was an enormous aquatic lizard of the late Cretaceous, dwelling in what would become the North Atlantic Ocean. It is named for the Meuse River where the first fossil specimen was discovered. Hi, and welcome to Paleologic. If this is your first time here, be sure to subscribe so you can get updated every time I post a new video. Today we are talking about the Mosasaurus, so let's get started. The largest species of the Mosasaur species could grow to over 50 feet long, with a streamlined skull bristling with teeth, a barrel-like trunk for its midsection, and a long, powerful tail. It was an aquatic reptile, not a fish, as evidenced by its two sets of fins. Early paleontologists initially suspected that the mosasaur was an ancient crocodile or monitor, but eventually it became clear that it was a different species altogether, unrelated to any modern animal. Mosasaurus lived near the surface of the water, since it breathed air, much as whales do. They were carnivores, feeding on whatever edible animals were unfortunate enough to cross their path, likely fish, plesiosaurs, and even other Let's look at some quick facts about Mosasaurus before we dive deeper into the anatomy of this giant whale. Monitor Mosasaurus existed from the Upper Cretaceous epoch to 61.7 million years ago. It lived in a terrestrial habitat and was a carnivore. Paleontologists have found 31 different specimens. Now let's take a closer look at the skull. As we can see here, the skull was quite elongated. In fact, it bore a strong resemblance to a modern whale or dolphin skull. The reason for this is because both groups are actually more closely related than you might think. Both are classified within the clade called lip. This clade also includes today's lizards and snakes. Imagine that Mosasaurus, the giant whale monster, is more closely related to snakes than to crocodiles. Well, there are actually many groups of lizards and snakes that are more closely related to Mosasaurus than they are to each other. This illustrates how paraphyletic the group of reptiles is. Mosasaurus had a total of 64 teeth, which makes sense given the size of its mouth. The teeth were quite varied in shape and size, depending on what part of the mouth they came from, and they were constantly being replaced throughout the life of the animal. The teeth toward the back of the mouth were more suited for crushing and shearing through flesh, while the teeth in the front of the mouth were more suited for catching and holding on to prey. Considering the placement of these teeth, I am guessing that mosasaurs ambushed their prey, just like modern-day pelicans. Its jaws were extremely powerful, allowing it to clamp down on large prey with ease. Behind the jaws were the openings to the inner ear. These structures are called the tympanic. They may have served an auditory function, allowing the Mosasaurus to hear sounds underwater, although it's possible that they may have another function entirely. In most reptiles today, these openings serve as attachment points for the extraocular muscles of the eye. Since Mosasaurus was an aquatic animal, however, these openings may have served a different purpose. As I said earlier, more research needs to be gathered to come to a conclusion. Moving forward along the skull, we can see the pineal opening here. This opening housed the pineal eye, also known as the third eye. This eye is photoreceptive, meaning that it can detect light and dark, but it cannot form images. Pineal eyes are common in lower vertebrates, including many reptiles today, but as animals evolved, this structure started disappearing. There are a few exceptions. However, some mammals still retain this structure, such as the elephant shrew. As far as I know, no one knows exactly what the pineal eye does. It's possible that it regulates sleep cycles, but that's only a theory. The brain itself was quite large, measuring at about 900 grams. That's about twice the weight of an alligator's brain. The cerebellum was particularly large, suggesting that Mosasaurus had excellent motor control over its body, which is essential for an active swimming lifestyle. Overall, the brain endocast suggests that Mosasaurus was an active, alert predator. Now let's move on to the ribs. The ribs were very flat, which helped to make the body more hydrodynamic. They also had a large rib cage, which may have acted as a heat sink, helping them to maintain a constant body temperature. The ribs were connected to the spine by strong ligaments, forming a flexible but sturdy structure. They could bend and flex as needed, but they also provided support and protection for the internal organs. The vertebrae were also modified for an aquatic lifestyle, The vertebrae were very flat and disc-like, which helped to reduce drag in the water. They were also very sturdy, providing support for the long tail and the powerful muscles that moved it. The vertebrae were connected by strong ligaments, forming a flexible but sturdy structure. Now let's move on to the limbs. Unlike most other reptiles, Mosasaurus had 4 limbs that were modified for swimming. The forelimbs were short and stout, ending in 3-toed paddles. These were used for steering and braking in the water. The hind limbs were longer and more slender, ending in 2-toed paddles. These were used for propulsion. The limbs were connected to the body by long, thin girdles, which helped to reduce weight and increase flexibility. The legs were also angled backward, which allowed for a greater range of motion in the water. Its tail was extremely long and powerful, and it was covered in small scales that reduced drag. The tail was used for propulsion, and it was so strong that it could propel the animal through the water at great speeds. As you can see here, its 2 dorsal fins acted as stabilizers, keeping the animal upright in the water. The tail fin was asymmetrical, meaning that one side was larger than the other. This allowed for more efficient movement through the water. The first specimen of Mosasaurus was discovered in 1822 in the Maastricht region of the Netherlands. The first fossil remains of Mosasaurus, discovered in the United States, were found in 1867 in Kansas. However, it wasn't until the early 20th century that serious paleontological excavations began to take place. In the 1920s and 30s, several large fossil deposits of Mosasaurus were uncovered in western North America, particularly in the states of South Dakota and Nebraska. These fossils provided valuable insights into the anatomy, physiology, and behavior of these ancient creatures. In 1940, a team of paleontologists led by the renowned scientist Samuel W. Williston unearthed a nearly complete Mosasaurus skeleton in South Dakota. This fossil, now known as the Big Mama specimen, is one of the most complete and well-preserved Mosasaurus skeletons ever found. One of the most famous Mosasaurus fossils is the skull dubbed Bruce, which is displayed at the Royal Belgian Institute of Natural Sciences in Brussels. Another notable specimen is the Big Mama skeleton, which is housed at the University of Kansas Natural History Museum. This 50-foot-long fossil is one of the largest and most complete skeletons ever found, and provides an impressive display of the creature's immense size and power. Visitors to the Dinosaur Park fossil site in South Dakota can also see a mounted Mosasaurus skeleton that towers over them at 37 feet long. This particular specimen is notable for its exceptionally long tail, which was reconstructed by paleontologists using the fossil record of other Mosasaurus species. One of the most exciting recent discoveries related to is the announcement in 2023 of a new species of the creature named Mosasaurus. This new species was identified based on a nearly complete skull and other skeletal remains found in Morocco. The discovery of Mosasaurus hoffmanni helps to fill a gap in our understanding of the distribution and evolution of Mosasaurus species around the world. It also highlights the incredible diversity of marine life that existed during the Cretaceous period. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment down below. What should I talk about next? Also, don't forget to subscribe so you can get notified every time I post new videos. Thanks for watching. See ya.